Today, I'm sharing with you more than 10 of my favorite books that you can use to introduce music into your homeschool. Welcome back to the Morning Basket Music channel. I'm Leanne, a homeschool mom of 2 beautiful kiddos and a music educator. One of the main reasons that I wanted to share this list of books and resources with you guys is because I really do feel so strongly about making music a simple, approachable topic that any parent can teach in their homeschool. And by the way, yes, I will be including an entire list of all the books that are mentioned in today's video. I know from personal experience, whether it's talking to friends or just other homeschool moms, that music is kind of a tricky subject, especially if you're a person who didn't come from a musical background or you don't really feel like it's something you're qualified to teach yourself. So I think using books is just a really great way to get started, and I'm going to be sharing all kinds of resources that I have personally used in my last 18 years of teaching music to kids. So the way this video will be broken up is by category. I'm going to tell you what kind of musical concept each book teaches or introduces, and then I will also be recommending it for a certain age range. First, let's begin with the category of listening to music. This book is called The Listening Walk, written by Paul Showers, and while technically it's not a book about music, it does get kids to start thinking about how there are sounds, musical sounds happening in our world all the time, whether we're aware of it or not, right? So after you read this story with your kids, it's a great chance to take a walk in nature or in your local neighborhood, or even if you live in a busy city, you can still get kids to listen for all the sounds that they experience in their everyday life. So you can see how they kind of show up on the page there. And this is a great way to discuss with them the sounds that they hear and really help them tune their ears into listening. The second book is a book by Eric Carle called I See a Song. And we all know that Eric Carle books are full of beautiful illustrations. And once you get past maybe the first page or two of this story, it does not have any more words. So this is perfect to use with very young kids, think preschool, elementary age. And here are ways that you can use it for listening. As you go through the different pieces of artwork in the story, ask them to imagine if they heard music to accompany each page, what would that music sound like? Would it be fast or slow or happy sounding or maybe even mysterious and scary sounding? So get them to think through those different things. And you could even pick out some recordings that you want them to hear and let them decide, would this be a good song to accompany the story? If you want to take it even a step further, you can play music for them and have them create their own artwork, because it's always super fun when we can match those two together, putting art with the music. The final book in this listening category is called Can You Hear It? This is probably in my top 3 favorite books for teaching of all time. It's put out by the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So they have very carefully chosen some famous pieces of art. They are just gorgeous. And there's also a listening CD that comes along with it. So they've already chosen a variety of musical genres, and your kids will listen to the recording while you flip through the different pieces of art. But what I really love are the Can You Hear It questions. So you already have some built-in discussion questions based on the listening examples, and then also specific things that they can be listening for, like certain instruments or certain sound effects. Can you hear it? Okay, our next category are books that teach about orchestra in the different instruments. So these first 2, we have the Orchestra Pit, and then this funny one in the series, I Know a Shy Fellow Who Swallowed a Cello. I'm sure your kids are probably already familiar with this style of book, right? The Orchestra Pit is just this cute story about a snake who accidentally ends up in an orchestra pit. So kids are starting to get introduced to the names and the pictures of the different instruments. This one is obviously a funnier story. that kids get a kick out of. They can listen for the different rhyming words as well as picking out and identifying the different instruments that they hear. And I would also encourage you to look up some sound clips of different instruments to go with the story. Next, we have the book Welcome to the Symphony by Carolyn Sloan. And this is one of those books that comes with the built-in sound effects. And I will say, for this type of book, it actually has pretty high quality sound. So that's one thing that I like about it. And it follows the story of two mice who are attending an orchestra concert. And of course, it'll show you as you go along which sound effects you're going to press for each page. It also introduces them to some actual musical terms. We've got conductor, dynamics, tempo. So in this book, kids are actually learning some musical definitions. And I think this story is really good for maybe like second grade, third grade, that kind of age range. Our last book in the orchestra category is called The Composer is Dead. It was written by Lemony Snicket. I believe he's a famous movie producer. And it really is probably better suited for older elementary. And the only reason I say that is because there is quite a bit of humor in this story. And little kids could enjoy it too, but I think some of that humor is probably going to go over their heads. But as they're trying to solve this mystery, and I'll show you in the back, it does also come with a CD. But as kids are trying to solve the mystery, it's kind of like a whodunit story, they are going to hear about a lot of the different characteristics of each instrument family, what they sound like, what they look like, and it does a really good job of kind of tying those all together at the end of the book, but in a mystery format. The next category is books that teach about rhythm. Again, one of my all-time favorites here, Hand, Hand, Fingers, Thumb. This is such a cute story about monkeys who do drumming patterns back and forth. I've actually used this one in performances before with real drums. But if you have anything at home that your kids can bang on, get out some pots and pans or bowls or real drums if you've got them. And it's a great chance you can actually read along with the story while doing the drumming patterns. Just you play a line, your kids echo back to you. So it's good for just getting them comfortable and introducing the concept of rhythm. Unfortunately, I couldn't find my actual copy of this next book. I only have the magnet board that comes with it. So when I'm done recording this, believe me, I'm going to be searching my entire house to try and find it because it's such a good book called Freddie the Frog and the Mysterious Wahoo. This is actually part of a music series of Freddie the Frog books. I think some of the other ones actually introduced note names on the staff, but this one is all about introducing rhythm and tempo words. So as kids follow the story of Freddie the Frog and his friends, when they crash on Tempo Island, they hear a lot of different sounds from the characters on that island. Some of them are faster sounds, some of them are slower sounds. And another thing, bonus, if you get the CD that comes with it, it actually will include some sound recordings like music at the end of the story besides just the read along. So they can actually start to experience what the different tempo words sound like. And if you order this magnet board that comes with it, you can see it's got little rhythm magnets that they can actually manipulate and put them in different orders to create their own rhythms. The next category is books that introduce singing concepts. And you might be a little surprised at the two that I've chosen here. We have When Louis Armstrong Taught Me to Scat and another classic, The Jazz Fly, which this one is a read-along story, so it does have a CD that comes with it. But the main reason I would recommend these, especially for parents who want to have singing happening in their home or in their homeschool, and they just don't really feel comfortable doing that in front of their kids or with their kids, these books are all about the concept of scat singing, just making up funny syllables like kids kind of do naturally anyway, even though we don't tell them to do that. You know, if they're just walking around the house doing a little do, well, they're singing scat. And you can do the same thing, just making up funny sounds with your voice. It's a very easy and low pressure way to practice singing voices with your kids, but it just sounds like we're having a lot of fun making sounds with our voices. As a bonus, the Jazz Fly story does also teach some of the instrument names. So if you're learning about orchestra instruments at the same time, or even jazz music, this would be a great one to add as well. Now for our final category, books that teach about composers. And I'm only holding up 3 for you here, but this entire set, which is called Getting to Know the World's Greatest Composers, I have a set of 12 of these books. And I believe there is an accompanying set that talks about some of the most famous artists. So I would recommend these books all the way through elementary school, okay, maybe even starting at a preschool age, and I'll tell you why. As they explore each composer's life, they do so in a factual way, okay? They are going to teach kids real things about the composer's life and will often show real photographs as well. They're a little bit longer stories, so you definitely could give your older elementary kids a chance to read these on their own if they've reached that level. So it's going to teach them facts about each composer, but I'll tell you what I really love about these. Kids of all ages love the cartoons that are included about that composer. They're really funny, really cute, and easy to understand. So I have read these books to kindergartners before, and even if some of the information goes over their head, they still will remember parts of the story that they heard because of the cartoons. And so these are very engaging books. Again, they cover just a wide variety of composers, and you could easily look up some listening examples to go with them. Again, it's called Getting to Know the World's Greatest Composers, written and illustrated by Mike Venezia. These books would also be a great addition to any unit study or even history study you might already be doing about a certain time period. So pick one of them that has a composer from that historical period and add it in as a way to bring in that extra element of music in a historical context. Now, I realize I have only just barely scratched the surface on great books that are out there that were written to teach kids about music. So I have a request from you. If there has been a book about music that your kids have really loved, that you've used in your homeschool, please drop those suggestions in the comments below, because I'm always on the lookout for new resources and ideas to use. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to Morning Basket Music for more homeschooling encouragement and music resources. I'll see you next time.